Hi, everyone. Greetings and welcome to Faith in an Ever-Changing World, Encouragement and Hope Faith Story. I'm Janet Harley, your host. And today it is just my pleasure to have with me Willie Mellina. And Willie is best known for his role as George Washington in the episodic Washington's Armor. And it's fantastic. You need to check it out. I'll try to put a link below so that you can be able to see maybe a trailer for the episodes for the show. He started singing and dancing and acting at the age of 20, and he studied all classical, contemporary styles of dance. And his training, his acting training, includes Stanislavski, Meisner, Shakespearean, and in scene study, improvisation, and film acting. And he has done some stunt work as well. So, Willie, it just seems like you have all the what's needed into being an actor in this field.
Well, I can't play the guitar, and I can't. I'm not trained in all kinds of weapon work, and
Yes.
can't speak Japanese. So there's some things.
Oh my goodness. Well, see, there you go.
I
Thank
got
you so much. Thank you so much, Willie, for being my guest here today. What an honor to have you. And right after our short intro, will be sharing with us his faith story. Stay with us. And welcome back. Willie, if you will, please share your faith story.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Yes, my name is Willie Mellina, and I was born in Waco, Texas. Sikkim Bears, Baylor Bear fan. You're just excited about everything, but yeah, born and raised in Waco, Texas. And my faith story, like anybody who's lived it out and had enough time to make some big mistakes in life, who's had some just tons and tons of grace upon grace upon grace. My faith story is it's changing daily.
Yes.
But I'll kind of try to do my best to start from the beginning. My first encounter, I feel like, with the presence of God was in my bed. Before bedtime, my mom would say the Lord's Prayer with me.
Oh.
I remember saying the Lord's Prayer. I can see my mom. I can see the doorway. I can see the light coming through the hall. And I can remember learning and reciting that with her. And I felt a protection and a peace, and as I've come to know now, that surpasses all understanding.
Absolutely.
I was just a little boy. At that time, I had already experienced, taking something from my sisters, or getting in trouble, or saying a word that I shouldn't have, or doing something. And I felt that fear, and I felt that pain and that fear that, I don't belong. I'm not worthy. I'm a bad boy.
Yeah.
Flip side, I remember saying that Lord's Prayer. So I at an early age, I can remember feeling that darkness, that fear, that remorse, that shame, and I felt that love, and I felt that peace, and I felt that protection. Fast forward, we went to First United Methodist Church of Waco. My folks visited, I think, a couple of churches, and they landed on that one. We went, and my sisters are kind of anxious, and I'm not really anxious at all. I don't remember being anxious at all. And I remember walking to the church, and I'm with my folks and my sisters, and this man walks up, and I thought my dad was Superman. I thought he was He-Man, right?
Yeah.
Guy walked up, he's a foot taller than my dad. He's 6 foot. His name was Bill Johnston, and he walked up and said, "Willie, my name's Bill, and I'm going to be your Sunday school teacher." And I remember my sisters were clinging real tight, close to my parents. And I looked at them and I thought, what's their deal? And I just felt like I felt the same presence that I felt saying that Lord's Prayer with my mom. I felt it when I walked into that building. I said, whatever that is, I feel it here. And I didn't know who God or Jesus Christ was. I didn't know anything about anything, but I
Mm-hmm.
felt that same
Mm-hmm.
peace, you know.
Mm.
And so I went with him, and that was kind of my testimony for a long time. I've shared with people, that I know what that felt like, and I did confirmation class or fifth or sixth grade, in the Methodist Church, and many denominations have that.
Mm-hmm.
But life happened, and insecurity happened, and a little boy who desperately wanted to make people laugh and desperately wanted to fit in, all that stuff happened, and I started to make decisions, going right when I probably should have gone left or
Yeah.
straight or stood
Yeah.
still. Sometimes the Lord says, "Be still and know that I'm God." I wasn't still, and then I went here, and then I went there, and then I wanted to go back and try to retrace my steps, and it got ugly, and sometimes it got ugly quick, and sometimes it got ugly just in the rhythm and the pace that I was moving, and that involved, I don't want to, I don't need to paint the picture too clearly. It just involved anything you can imagine,
Mm.
from drugs and alcohol to desperately trying to make any pretty girl. I desperately wanted to make sure that she knew that I was the funniest guy in the room, and that she could trust me, or whatever that looked like, or that a
Mhm.
lot of times I got into trouble with my best friend's girlfriends, because first of all I thought, well, they're really pretty. I ran with a popular crowd, and then I thought, well, this is my best friend. She's not going to be interested in me. And then, so I'm just doing my deal, making them laugh. And then, of course, those guys, my best friends, showed up human, and they were butt heads or whatever they did. And so all of a sudden, next thing you know, I'm getting in trouble because I kissed this girl or did this thing. And so always that shame, always
Yeah.
that, what did I do? Why did I do
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
And that comes with all that territory of partying and trying to live the fast life, as some call
Yeah.
it. But that went on, so then I lost my best friend when I was 18. November 26, 2003, lost my best friend,
Mm.
Jacob Aaron Sobel, my
Oh,
brother. We became friends in first grade, and he was gone for a couple years, went off to different schools, and then he finally stopped going to school and tested out of high school, got his GED, moved to Mexico. He came back the day after I graduated high school, and we hung
wow.
out every single day from that day until November 26, 2003, the day that he passed away. There was one
Oh
day.
my.
There was one day that he worked a double shift, but besides that, we hung out every single day. Anyways,
Hmm.
he passed away. We hung out that whole day. It was the day before Thanksgiving in
Oh.
2008, and we
Hmm.
were partying. And I remember we hung out that whole day. We tried to change his spare tire, and it was a Chevy Z71 truck, and they had it under the deal, so you had to release this bottom deal and take these nuts off, and then it drops.
Yeah.
And we got darn far until finally we realized, you know what, this might be a little too confusing for us. I think that we need to start playing some basketball. We played basketball. We played basketball 1-on-1 for 2 hours.
My goodness.
And then we split off, and we said, hey, we're going to go hang out, and we're going to go to this party that we knew that was going on that night. He went to go with his family, and I went home. We showered, then we met back up at his house, went to go pick up 2 12-packs of Miller Lite, and then we went to this party. Fast forward about 6 or 7 hours. He's leaving the party, and he said, hey, you want to come? You want to leave? And I said, no, I'm hanging out here. And I was, there's a couple girls that I thought were, pretty girls, and we had already, just been living in sin. And I thought,
Mm.
I'm going to stay here. Well, he left, and that was the last time I saw him. The Jeep flipped and landed on top of him, and he died, at that moment, or maybe a few hours later at the hospital. He was
Oh
bleeding.
my.
And so I moved to
I
California.
am sorry.
Oh,
Oh.
oh, thank you. Thank you. It absolutely,
Mm.
he is so much a part of me and his story and his life and the way that he loved
Yeah.
and the way that he lived and danced. Um, uh, I miss him. I think about him all the time, and
I'm sure. Yeah.
name one of my sons after him. I've got 4 sons, but I'll get to that in a little bit. Hopefully, if I
You
don't,
have 4 sons?
I have 4 sons and a daughter.
Oh, well, good gracious.
By the grace of God. If you don't think
Woo.
I'm a comedian, let me tell you my story, and then realize that I have 5.
Yes. Yeah.
So fast forward. So I moved to California, came back, and there was a kid that I had met. I'd been going to community college, and there was a kid that I met, and I come back from California and I run into this guy. His name's Justin Gamble. And we're hanging out. Fast forward, been hanging out for a few months, and we're about to have some of my friends come over and drinking and drugging. And I start dancing. And he's like, man, dude, what the heck? You can dance. He was like, you need to come to a dance class. And I thought, a dance class for boys in Waco, Texas? Like, I was way too hip, slick, and smooth / insecure for a dance class. But fast forward like a month, and he tricked me. We were going to go play basketball or tennis or something. And he tricked me. He's like, I just need to go grab some books from school. And we walk into this area, and I see some kids that I went to high school with, and I see this giant mirror, and I see this nice looking wooden floor, and I later kind of find out it's a floating floor. And I was so embarrassed. I said, I'm not going in there. And this guy walks up and he said, hey, come on in here or whatever. And I said, no, I'm okay. I'm okay. And this ended up being Jerry Mack, who was my mentor, taught me how to sing, dance, and act. He said, yeah, come in. And so I did. And he said, I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So I did. Fast forward 3 years, I started singing, dancing, and acting. I was a lead in my first 3 shows. I did like 12, 13 shows over a 2.5, 3 year period. Ended up auditioning for the University of Oklahoma, got in, blah, blah, blah. All throughout that time, I'm just, my dad called, I'm a heat Maharan. I'm like a plastic bag in a gust of wind. So my faith was all over the place. I always believed in God. I knew that he was a part of my path. I knew that he was constantly showing me and including me in life and teaching me how to sing, dance, and act. And some of these relationships, I would not be sitting in this couch right now talking to you if I had never met Jerry Mack. If I never met Jerry Mack, I never started singing, dancing, and acting, I never would have gone to the University of Oklahoma, where I ended up meeting my best friend and brother, Skylar Adams. If I'd never met Skylar Adams, gone to OU, he never would have invited me to come up to Chicago, where I went after the University of Oklahoma. Obviously, a lot of life stuff, obviously a lot of sin, obviously a lot of destruction in between. Yeah. But then I go to Chicago, where I meet who is now my wife, and I have 5 children with. So God he always had his hand, but so much of my faith story could be summarized by, I thought that there was like this umbrella or this giant shade tree that I could kind of hide under whenever I was self-will run riot. I'm making bad decisions and I'm doing bad things, and I can still get there. I get there all the time. I lived that out a little bit yesterday, where I just think like, okay, well, I'm going to sin. I'm going to do what I want to do. And I know you can see me, but I'm just going to kind of hide under the shade tree. Right. And then we can talk about it, and then I can get out in the sun. So there was times where it just got, it was constantly a give and take, and my sin, and I feel like a lot of sin is just a progressive deal. It always, Levi Lusko says, and I've heard it said a million ways, different ways, but he said it always takes you further than you want to go. Yes. It always stay longer than you want to stay. Yeah. Makes you pay more than you have, and then you look up and you're looking around and you have no idea where you're at. And you're wondering, what the heck's going on? How did I get here? And you forget that, first of all, if you're still standing, that's a good thing. And if you're still standing, you're still here. And then you come to that recognition that I'm still there and you still love me, if you believe in God. And I always believed in him. There was one quick season. I don't know if it was 2 days or a week, but I was living in California. This was, my best friend Jacob had passed away, and I moved to California. Yeah. And my uncle, who I ended up kind of restarting a relationship with, him being my uncle, me being his nephew, we just were out of touch for several years. Anyways, I get out there and he started to ask me some really big questions about, what about the kids in India that never hear about Jesus Christ? What happens to them? What happens to them? Or what if they die when they're 9, 12, whatever? Yeah. He started to ask me just some really big questions for which I had no information, no knowledge, no wisdom, no experience in answering or responding to in any way. And I thought, and I'm smoking pot. I'm doing my deal, right? I'm doing that whole shade tree thing. I got that umbrella up. Yeah. Sometimes God, he really can't see me. And so I thought, you know what? I don't know. I'm just going to start over. on this whole belief thing. And it was maybe, I think honestly, the day that I said, I'm going to just, redo this whole like philosophical, like spiritual belief system, this whole framework. Later that night, I'm playing basketball 2 or 3 hours in Galena Park, Pasadena, Galena Park, I think it was called in Pasadena. Anyways, and I'm heading home and it's dark. It's already dark. I played forever. And I'm walking home and I'm walking on Fairfax Boulevard and I am so scared. I'm scared of my own shadow. I feel like there's somebody behind me.
Oh my. Running
home. And that one or two more times. And I was so afraid. And I remember saying, okay, God, I believe in you. And I also believe that I've been putting a box on you. And I've tried to like make this whole thing make sense for me this whole time. So I believe in you, and I'm way too afraid without knowing that you're with me, you're for me, you're by my side. So I believe in you, but I need to redo this whole thing. And so that started new. Obviously sin, darkness, and complete bondage and slavery to my own flesh. That's 18, 19 years old, continued for the next 13 years until finally I reached a breaking point, a jumping off point, as we call in another spiritual program that I work, a recovery program. So I finally surrendered and I waved the white flag.
Praise God. Yes.
This with children. This is with, now who is my wife and the mother of my children. And I got sober. I stopped drinking and drugging, and I stopped those times where I say, hey, I'm just going to the grocery store to go get milk and bread. And I come back 2 hours later.
God. Yeah.
So that stopped. And when that stopped, I gave God a whole lot more room to operate. The complete bondage of I've got to change the way that I feel today. Once that stopped and I was able to, the spiritual experience that God blessed me with, I was able to remove that from the equation. Then he had so much more room to operate. And he's continuing to operate. And so I've been sober a little over 6 years. I've been doing TV about 3.5. Since that time, the first audition I ever had, talk about God. Since that time, the first audition I ever had was Washington's Armor, as I played George Washington. So that happened. And through that, I've met so many people. God has just continued to take me on this journey. And whenever I say yes to him, and whenever I'm connected with him and I'm in his alignment and his will, he just shows off in so many cool ways. I still get in the way. I get in the way every day. Like I said, I know. But it has been a beautiful journey with him. And before I started this, you and I got to read Philippians. And when I get in the Word, I feel his presence, just like I felt Lord's Prayer.
Yes.
Just felt walking into that church with my family. That's just kind of a microcosm, just a snapshot of what a bit of my story, my faith story looks like.
Oh, Willie, thank you so very much for sharing all that. And what a powerful faith story you have. And I know that it will be encouraging and inspiring to those who will be watching, because there are people who may be going through some of the same things that you might have experienced. And, we can't have the world and God, it's just, and when we come to that point, we have to come to that point where we surrender to him. And then, wow, life changes for you. So,
I want to just include that, if anybody does end up watching this and you or someone that just struggling and can't get out from under bondage to a substance, I have some experience with that, and God has rescued me from that and continually rescuing me from, just lust and sex addiction and just fear and depression and anxiety. And he's constantly giving me tools to work on those things. So if anybody does see this, feel free to reach out to me. I believe my email and my phone number is on my IMDb. It's my name, Willie Mellina. So please,
I'll put that link for people, okay? I
Thank you.
certainly will. I'll put it in the comment section for you, Willie. Uh, One more thing. What's one thing we can do to hold on to our faith in this ever changing world we live in?
What is one thing we can do to hold on to our faith in this ever
Mhm,
changing world?
mhm.
Um, I mean, gosh, I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I'm a big believer in hitting your knees first thing in the morning. Do I do it every day? Absolutely not. And Jesus,
Yeah,
please help me. I want to get better at that.
I know.
But when I hit my knees, I get small.
Yeah.
Uh, and I say, I can't, but you can. I want to let you today. I want to let you help take over. Just getting in his word, you know,
Oh, yes.
his,
Yes.
and it doesn't necessarily make sense. And I don't always feel something. And I don't always
Yeah.
get chills. And I don't always start crying and weeping. But the more I do it, the more I practice trying to be in his presence, the
Mm,
better I get at it. And I'm not consistent. Nobody's perfect, but God says, come as you are. You know, my yoke is burdened,
absolutely. Absolutely.
rest.
Yes.
So spending time with him, reading his word, and this, saying yes. When people ask you to, when someone who has a light and a love about them and asks you to do something, or you feel like it's something that, you want to serve somebody else, when you say yes to those, that is when we really get included, whether it's interviews or going to pick up trash or going to help.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes that person on the street corner, when they're asking for money just because they want a beer, sometimes give them the dadgum money and watch how you feel and watch the Holy Spirit move. And sometimes God will include you in some
That's
powerful.
right. That's right. And pay attention to those promptings we get
Mm,
from the Lord all during the day because there's a reason.
that's
There's
right.
a reason for them. Willie, thank you again. What an honor to have you. And I just pray that the Lord is going to continue to open up those opportunities for you to keep shining for His glory. Thank you. And thank you all for watching. And thank you to my family network, Creative Motion Network. Thank you all for watching as well. Have faith and look up, friends, where our help comes from. Bye. God bless.